Today, Iowa Republicans will make Iowa the first state ever to strip its citizens of civil rights. Not only are you destroying our history of civil rights advances, which were very well detailed by Senator Zimmer, you won't even allow the proper amount of time needed to consider something of this magnitude by limiting debate to 3:30 p.m. today. Thousands of people have come to the Capitol this week to urge you to stop this. There was a line around the Capitol this morning of Iowans waiting to get in here, to speak with you, to have their voices heard. Did you hear them? Do you hear the people sing? This bill is part of a national agenda rolling back rights for the LGBT community. Trans folks are the canaries in the coal mine. Right here in Iowa, we've had bills filed to roll back equal protection for marriage equality, and this week, a representative in Michigan filed a resolution asking the Supreme Court to strip same-sex Americans of the right to marry. We've heard the majority restate national talking points designed to inspire fear and animus towards a small minority of Iowans, transgender and non-binary people. It is shameful, shameful. And a group of your Republican colleagues in the House filed an amendment to this bill because even they saw that this goes too far. Democrats gave you 3 separate opportunities today to specify that trans folks can't be discriminated against in housing, employment, and credit. You rejected all 3, and that's the tell. You've articulated a few areas that you seek to address with this bill. However, the fact that this bill is so expansive to remove an entire group of people from civil rights protections speaks to the real agenda, which is policing gender expression and creating a world so hostile to those who don't fit your mold that trans or non-gender conforming people can't exist. Not one time in my life, or the life of anybody I know, and I know a lot of people, not one time has a man masqueraded as a woman to threaten women in the restroom. But do you know who does threaten women around restrooms? Men who threaten women they don't think fit the feminine mold. The restroom has long been a dangerous place for women assigned female at birth who don't fit what dominant culture considers to be that feminine mold. And policing gender in this country isn't new. All the way back to the 1960s, both men and women could be stopped and forced to show 3 articles of clothing fitting society's idea of what a man or woman can wear. And maybe that's what some of you mean by making America great again. Senator Schultz talked about women and children. So let's talk about women and children, because there are people in this room who think a 12-year-old should be forced to carry her rapist's baby. Give me a break. And I know that trans men shared their stories in the subcommittee and public hearing for the bill. Senator McClintock, one of your constituents, came and really appreciated the opportunity to speak with you. And I think we all acknowledge that many women would certainly feel odd about a person presenting as a man with a beard walking into their restroom. And that's the thing here, is that some might think that supporters of this bill haven't considered that, but I assert that they have. They know the confusion, strife, and danger this will cause for trans people, but that's the point. Creating a world so dangerous that trans people are erased one way or the other by fear, self-harm, or violence by others. Every LGBTQ person of my generation remembers Brandon Tina, a young trans man who was raped and murdered for being trans. The agenda is to create a world where the walls close in until there is no room to exist. And this bill forces us to ask whose civil rights are on the chopping block next. You know why we name groups in civil rights code? Because we as a society see that despite our best efforts, certain groups of people are targeted and their opportunities are limited by prejudice and violence. Would Senator Schultz yield?
Senator Schultz, will you yield?
Yes.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Earlier you mentioned in regards to the nature of discrimination, I think you mentioned we all have a bad day. You've had bad days, yes, right? Okay, thank you, I appreciate you answering that question. That was it. Thank you. I wonder, have you ever had a day so bad where a group of men raped you, beat you, and murdered you because they did not like your gender expression? Obviously not, because you're still sitting here today. We have 2 members of the Iowa House and many others who have alluded that they don't think there should be any protected classes such as religion or disability. This will not stop here. And you know what else? You're breaking my heart today. Senator Winkler, thank you for your vote in 2007. 15 years ago, as a young college graduate, I made the choice to stay here in Iowa because I was proud of our civil rights history. People who looked ahead and back to our history of being a state that moves more and more towards including more people, built the world that many of us inhabit now, the world that allowed many of us to make Iowa our home. As a young queer person, I felt valued, and I saw that lawmakers understood the importance of including gender identity in civil rights code. I felt that I could build a life here and focus on my career because I wouldn't have to worry about whether my livelihood hinged upon whether an employer thought my gender was appropriate or whether I dressed in the style they decided someone assigned female at birth should dress. I've been proud of our state, and I've encouraged other tech workers to come here too, because I felt that they would be protected and they could build a career here too. You are destroying that with this bill. I've had constituents move away from Iowa to ensure their own safety or that of their children. That's wrong. Guess what though? I'm not leaving. Over 500,000 Iowans voted against Governor Reynolds and this agenda, and I'm here for them. You can try to silence Iowans by limiting debate today, but we won't be quiet. Trans rights are human rights. We will continue to fight for the day when our state lives up to the motto of our flag. Our liberties we prize, and our rights we will maintain.